The Lego sun, a benevolent golden orb, cast long, opulent shadows across the manicured lawns of Chief Emeka Obi's sprawling Koi estate. Within its walls, life unfolded in a symphony of quiet luxury and meticulous order. Chief Emeka Obi, a name synonymous with ambition, integrity, and unparalleled success, was more than just a billionaire. He was a titan of industry, a visionary whose ventures spanned oil, technology, and real estate. His philanthropy was legendary, his public image impeccable. Yet, for all his outward grandeur, Emeka found his truest solace not in boardrooms or grand galas, but within the sanctity of his home, beside his wife, Ngozi. Ngozi, her name itself meaning blessing in Igbo, seemed to perfectly encapsulate her presence in his life. She was a woman of exquisite beauty, her skin like polished mahogany, her eyes, deep and expressive, always seemed to hold a sparkle of adoration when they met his. Their marriage, now 15 years strong, was, to the world, a testament to enduring love. They had built their empire together, brick by painstaking brick, their bond seemingly unbreakable. Emeka cherished their quiet evenings, the effortless laughter they shared, the comforting rhythm of their shared existence. Ngozi was his anchor, his confidant, the gentle hand that steadied him amidst the turbulent seas of his business empire. This morning, however, held the bittersweet tang of temporary separation. Emeka was due to depart for a crucial business summit in Dubai, a trip that would keep him away for 5 long days. He stood in their spacious, sun-drenched master bedroom, the scent of Ngozi's expensive perfume mingling with the crispness of his freshly pressed suit. Ngozi, elegant even in her silk robe, fussed over his travel bag, her movements graceful and attentive. "Are you sure you have everything, my love?" she asked, her voice a soft melody, her fingers smoothing the lapel of his jacket. "Your presentation notes, your lucky pen, the new cufflinks I bought you." Emeka chuckled, pulling her into a warm embrace. Her body felt soft, yielding against his, a familiar comfort. "My darling Ngozi, you worry too much. I have everything I need, especially knowing I'll be coming back to you." He kissed her forehead, then her lips, a lingering, tender kiss that promised a swift return. 5 days. It will fly by. Take care of yourself and the house. No wild parties while I'm gone, you hear? He teased, a playful glint in his eyes. Ngozi laughed, a light, airy sound. "As if, you know I'm lost without you, my chief. Just focus on your deal. And please be careful. The world is a dangerous place, even for billionaires." Her words were laced with concern that warmed his heart. He squeezed her hand, a silent vow of his safe return. His private jet awaited him at the Murtala Muhammad International Airport. The flight was smooth, the initial hours spent reviewing documents, making calls, and then, finally, allowing himself the luxury of relaxation. He thought of Ngozi, of their comfortable life, of the future they were building. He truly was a blessed man. However, fate, in its unpredictable wisdom, had a different script for Chief Emeka Obi. Mid-flight, a sudden, urgent communication came through from his lead negotiator in Dubai. A critical, unforeseen issue had arisen with a key partner, demanding his immediate, in-person attention. The summit schedule had shifted, and his presence was required today, not tomorrow. His original flight, due to a minor technical glitch, was now delayed by 24 hours. "Pilot, can we reroute? Get me on the next available flight to Dubai, no matter the cost." Emeka instructed, his voice firm. The pilot, after a flurry of calls, confirmed a connecting flight was available, but it meant landing in Lagos, transferring to a commercial flight, and a significant detour. It would be a long, arduous journey, but necessary. Emeka sighed. The surprise for Ngozi would have to wait, or so he thought. The commercial flight landed in Lagos late that evening, a full day earlier than Ngozi expected him. Emeka, exhausted but determined, decided against calling her. He pictured her surprise, her delighted smile when he walked through the door. A small, intimate reunion, just the two of them. It would be a welcome respite from the sterile world of business. He dismissed his driver at the main gate of the estate, preferring to walk the short, tree-lined driveway, savoring the cool evening air. The mansion loomed ahead, a beacon of warmth and familiarity. He let himself in with his personal key, the heavy oak door swinging open silently. The grand foyer, usually bustling with staff or echoing with music, was unusually quiet. A single lamp cast a soft glow, highlighting the gleaming marble floors. "Ngozi," he called out softly, his voice a low murmur. No answer. He walked further in, his footsteps muffled by the thick Persian rugs. He passed the empty living room, the silent dining hall. A faint murmur of voices drifted from upstairs, from the direction of their master bedroom. Curiosity piqued. He ascended the grand staircase, a smile playing on his lips. Perhaps she was on a call, or with one of her friends. He imagined slipping in, wrapping his arms around her, surprising her with his early return. As he neared the master bedroom, the voices grew clearer. It wasn't casual chat. It was hushed, conspiratorial. Ngozi's voice, usually so melodious, was clipped, almost clinical. And there was another voice, softer, deferential. Emeka paused, his hand on the cold brass doorknob. He couldn't quite make out the words, but the tone was unsettling. He pressed his ear closer, his smile fading. The funeral arrangements. The words hit him like a physical blow. Emeka's blood ran cold. He froze, his heart, moments ago beating with anticipation, now hammering a frantic, terrifying rhythm against his ribs. Funeral? Whose funeral? It couldn't be. He strained to listen, every nerve ending screaming. A grand send-off, of course, befitting his status. That was the other voice, a woman's. Then Ngozi's sharp and impatient. Yes, we understand the optics, but let's focus on the practicalities. The guest list, the eulogies, and most importantly, his assets. We need to ensure a smooth transition after the reading of the will. Emeka's world shattered. The opulent walls of his mansion seemed to tilt, the air growing thin. His funeral, his assets, his will, Ngozi, planning his death. Disbelief, cold and absolute, war with a horrifying, undeniable realization. He felt a nauseating lurch in his stomach, as if he had been punched. The woman he loved, the woman who had just kissed him goodbye with feigned concern, was discussing his demise with chilling detachment. Her tone was devoid of any grief, any sorrow. It was calculating, impatient, focused solely on the financial implications of his non-existence. He pressed his ear harder against the door, his breath shallow. He heard the rustle of papers, the clink of a teacup. The catering will be handled by Chef Ade, as you requested, Mrs. Obi. The other woman continued, oblivious to the silent horror unfolding outside the door. And the floral arrangements will be tasteful, yet grand. A fitting tribute to Chief Emeka Obi. Excellent, Ngozi replied, her voice chillingly calm. Just ensure everything is in place. No hitches. The last thing we need is any complications. Complications. The word hung in the air, dripping with sinister meaning. Emeka's mind reeled. Was this a sick joke? A macabre play? No. The tone was too serious, too real. The details too specific. He felt a sudden, overwhelming urge to burst through the door, to confront her, to scream, to demand an explanation for this unimaginable treachery. But a primal instinct, cold and sharp, held him back. If she was truly planning his death, then revealing his presence now could be fatal. He was vulnerable, unarmed, and completely, utterly blindsided. He retreated silently, his footsteps unnaturally light on the plush carpet. Each step felt like walking on broken glass, his heart pounding a frantic drumbeat in his ears. He made his way back down the grand staircase, his eyes scanning the familiar surroundings as if seeing them for the first time. The expensive artworks, the gleaming chandeliers, the antique furniture, all seemed to mock him, symbols of a life built on a foundation of sand. He reached the front door, slipping out as quietly as he had entered. The cool night air hit his face, a welcome shock against the burning confusion in his mind. He walked aimlessly down the driveway, his thoughts a chaotic storm. Ngozi, his Ngozi, the woman he trusted with his life, with his very soul, planning his funeral, planning his death. The betrayal was a physical ache, a gaping wound in his chest. How long had this been brewing? Was their love, their shared history, all a lie? Was he merely an obstacle to her inheritance? The questions swirled, each one more agonizing than the last. Fear, cold and insidious, began to creep in. If she was planning his death, how would she execute it? Was he safe? Was anyone around him safe? He stopped at the main gate, leaning against the cold metal, struggling to breathe. His mind, usually sharp and decisive, felt clouded, paralyzed by the enormity of what he had just overheard. He had to think. He had to act. But how? He pulled out his phone, his fingers fumbling. He scrolled through his contacts, his mind racing. He considered calling his head of security, his closest business partner. But no, who could he trust? If Ngozi, his wife, was capable of this, who else might be involved? The thought sent a fresh wave of paranoia through him. He had to feign ignorance. He had to act as if he never returned early. He would return officially tomorrow as planned. He would pretend everything was normal. And then he would investigate. Secretly, meticulously, he would uncover every dark corner of this unimaginable treachery. He would find out why, and he would make them pay. He called his pilot. Change of plans. I need to be picked up from the airport tomorrow morning as originally scheduled. No one is to know I returned early. Is that clear? Understood, Chief, the pilot replied, his voice devoid of curiosity. Emeka spent the night in a desolate hotel room, far from the opulence of his home, far from the woman who now felt like a stranger. Sleep was impossible. His mind replayed Ngozi's cold voice, the words funeral arrangements, assets, will. He remembered her feigned concern at the airport. Be careful. The world is a dangerous place. The irony was a bitter, nauseating taste. The next morning, he arrived at the airport, putting on the performance of a tired but happy traveler. He forced a smile for the driver, for the security detail. He straightened his tie, took a deep breath, and prepared to face the serpent in his own home. As his car pulled up to the mansion, Ngozi emerged, her face wreathed in a welcoming smile. She rushed toward him, her arms open, her eyes sparkling with what seemed like genuine relief and affection. "My darling, you're back. Oh, I missed you so much." She embraced him tightly, her head resting against his chest. Emeka forced himself to return the hug, his arms feeling like lead. Her touch, once a source of comfort, now felt like a viper's coils, chilling him to the bone. He could smell her perfume, the same scent that had lingered in their bedroom, the scent of betrayal. "I missed you too, my love," he managed, his voice a little hoarse, a slight tremor he hoped she would attribute to fatigue. He looked into her eyes, searching for a flicker of guilt, a shadow of deceit. But he saw nothing but feigned warmth, a masterful performance. "The trip was eventful," he said, pulling back slightly, maintaining a careful distance. He noticed a subtle change in her, something he couldn't quite pinpoint. Was it a heightened alertness in her eyes? A forced cheerfulness in her smile? Or was it just his own paranoia, painting shadows where none existed? Come in. I prepared your favorite meal," Ngozi chirped, taking his hand, her grip surprisingly firm. "You must be exhausted." He allowed her to lead him inside, into the very house where his death had been meticulously planned. Every step felt heavy, every breath a conscious effort. He looked at the grand halls, the familiar furniture, the very air that now felt thick with deceit. He was a stranger in his own home, a man walking into a trap set by the woman he had sworn to love forever. The game had begun, and Emeka Obi, the billionaire who had built an empire, knew he was now fighting for his very life. The air in the mansion, once a symphony of quiet luxury, now hummed with sinister, almost palpable tension for Emeka. Ngozi's welcoming smile, her warm embrace, felt like a grotesque mask, a chilling performance. Every touch, every word from her was a viper's caress, sending shivers down his spine. The home he had built, his sanctuary, had transformed into a gilded cage, a place where danger lurked in every shadow, where the woman he loved was now his most terrifying adversary. He forced himself to eat the favorite meal Ngozi had prepared, each bite a struggle against the nausea that churned in his stomach. He watched her across the gleaming dining table, her laughter light, her eyes seemingly sparkling with affection. But to Emeka, Her beauty now held a terrifying edge, like a venomous flower. He made polite conversation, feigning exhaustion from his long journey, his mind racing, dissecting every glance, every gesture. He noticed how her eyes flickered towards him when he raised his glass, a subtle, almost imperceptible tension in her shoulders. Was it his imagination, or was she waiting for something? That night, sleep was a distant, unattainable luxury. Emeka lay beside Ngozi in their vast bed, the space between them feeling like an unbridgeable chasm. He listened to her soft, rhythmic breathing, a sound that once brought him comfort, now filled him with dread. He imagined her waking, reaching for him, perhaps with a pillow or something far more sinister. He feigned sleep, his body rigid, his senses on high alert. The next morning, under the guise of catching up on urgent business, Emeka retreated to his private study. He locked the heavy oak door, then pulled out his secure satellite phone, a device he used only for most sensitive and confidential communications. He needed someone he could trust implicitly, someone with a reputation for absolute discretion and unparalleled investigative skills. His mind settled on one name, Mr. Kalu. Mr. Kalu was a legend in Lagos's shadowy world of private investigations. A former intelligence officer, he had retired years ago, but his network remained vast, his methods precise, and his loyalty, once earned, unwavering. He operated from a nondescript office in the quiet part of Surulere, a stark contrast to Emeka's opulent world. Emeka called him directly. "Kalu, it's Emeka Obi. I need your services. Urgently, and with the utmost discretion. This is personal, highly sensitive." Kalu's voice, calm and measured, came over the line. "Chief Obi, it's been a while. I understand. When and where can we meet?" "My private office, tomorrow morning. No one is to know you're coming. Use the service entrance, and my personal security will escort you directly." The meeting was tense, shrouded in secrecy. Emeka, usually composed, found himself speaking in hushed tones, his voice laced with raw vulnerability he rarely showed. He recounted the events of his early return, the overheard conversation, Ngozi's chilling words. Kalu listened, his face impassive, his eyes sharp and analytical. He asked precise questions, probing for details, for inconsistencies. "Chief, this is a grave accusation," Kalu stated, his voice low. "Are you certain of what you heard?" "I heard it with my own ears, Kalu. Every word. Funeral, assets, will." In her tone it was cold, calculating, like she was planning a business deal, not a burial. Emeka's voice trembled with a mixture of anger and disbelief. "Find out everything. Her finances, her movements, every secret she has." Kalu nodded. "It will be done, Chief. But be warned, the truth, when it comes, can be a bitter pill." Over the next few days, Emeka lived a double life. By day, he was Chief Emeka Obi, the astute businessman, the loving husband. He attended meetings, signed documents, and engaged in polite banter with Ngozi, all while a cold dread gnawed his insides. By night, he was a man haunted, a prisoner in his own home, constantly vigilant, every shadow a potential threat. Kalu's reports began to trickle in, each one a hammer blow to Emeka's heart. The first report detailed Ngozi's financial activities. For years, she had managed a significant portion of their joint investments, a role Emeka had entrusted her with implicitly. Kalu uncovered a series of increasingly risky, unauthorized investments in offshore accounts, ventures that had gone spectacularly wrong, leaving her with massive hidden debts. She had been bleeding money, desperately trying to recoup her losses, resorting to increasingly desperate measures. She had taken out loans against properties Emeka didn't even know existed, using his name, forging his signature. The scale of her financial ruin was staggering. But the next revelation was far more devastating. Kalu had placed Ngozi under discreet surveillance. The report included photographs. Photos of Ngozi, his beautiful, devoted wife, meeting secretly with a man, a much younger man. Their interactions were intimate, clandestine. Emeka stared at the images, his vision blurring. His hands trembled, the paper rustling. The infidelity, layered on top of the murder plot, was a betrayal so profound it left him gasping for air. Kalu's voice, calm and detached, delivered the final, crushing blow. The man chief is Jide Okoro, a former employee of yours. You fired him 5 years ago for embezzling funds from one of your tech startups. He was bitter, threatened revenge. He's known for being opportunistic, a con artist. Jide, the name sparked a flicker of recognition, a distant memory of a disgruntled, arrogant young man. The pieces clicked into place with horrifying clarity. Ngozi's financial ruin, Jide's grudge, the burial plans. It wasn't just about money. It was about revenge, a twisted alliance born of greed and malice. The heartbreak of betrayal turned into a burning, icy anger. Emeka felt a cold rage settle deep in his bones. He had given Ngozi everything, his trust, his love, his fortune, and she had repaid him with deceit, infidelity, and a plot to end his life. His paranoia, once a nagging suspicion, now became a chilling reality. He began to replay recent events, small details that seemed innocuous at the time, now screaming with sinister intent. His favorite morning tea, brewed by Ngozi herself, had tasted subtly different a few weeks ago, a faint, bitter aftertaste he had dismissed as a new blend. He had felt unusually sluggish, a persistent headache plaguing him for days. He remembered a near accident with his car just last month. The brakes had seemed to fail momentarily on a sharp bend, forcing him to swerve violently. His mechanic had found nothing wrong, attributing it to a glitch. And then a week ago, after a lavish meal prepared solely by Ngozi for their anniversary, he had suffered a sudden, severe bout of stomach cramps and dizziness, dismissing it as food poisoning from a restaurant lunch. Now the pieces fit. The tea, the brakes, the food poisoning. Ngozi wasn't just planning his burial. She was actively trying to hasten it. She was poisoning him, staging accidents. His own wife was a cold-blooded killer. Emeka's fear escalated. He began to take countermeasures, his every move calculated. He pretended his illness was worsening, feigning fatigue and a lack of appetite, hoping to lull Ngozi into a false sense of security. When she brought him his tea, he would subtly pour it into a potted plant when her back was turned, replacing it with plain water from a hidden bottle. He started to secretly record conversations, using a tiny, high-tech device Kalu had provided. He installed hidden cameras in strategic locations around the house, disguised as smoke detectors or small decorative objects, feeding a live stream to a secure tablet only he could access. One evening, Ngozi brought him a glass of his favorite red wine, a rare vintage he cherished. "A toast, my love," she purred, her eyes sparkling, "to your successful return and to our future." Emeka forced a smile, raising his glass. As he pretended to sip, he subtly poured a small amount into a tiny, discreet vial he kept hidden in his sleeve. "To us," he echoed, his voice betraying none of the terror he felt. He would send the sample to Kalu for analysis. The next day, Kalu's report confirmed his worst fears. The wine contained traces of a slow-acting poison designed to mimic natural causes, to gradually weaken the body until it succumbed. The tea samples, too, showed similar compounds, albeit in smaller doses. Ngozi was systematically poisoning him. The confirmation was chilling. Emeka felt a cold, burning rage consume him. He looked at the hidden camera feed on his tablet. Ngozi was in the living room, on the phone, her voice hushed. He activated the audio. "Yes, Jide, he's getting weaker. The new dosage is working faster. He barely touched his food tonight. Soon, my love, soon we'll be free, and rich beyond our wildest dreams." Jide's voice, distorted but recognizable, responded, "Good. Make sure there are no mistakes this time. Ngozi, I want my revenge, and I want my share of Emeka's empire. This time we finish it." Ngozi laughed, a low, cruel sound that sent shivers down Emeka's spine. "Don't worry, my darling. Chief Emeka Obi will soon be a distant memory, and his fortune all ours." Emeka watched, his heart a block of ice in his chest. As Ngozi blew a kiss into phone, her face alight with a horrifying blend of greed and malice. The woman he had loved, the woman he had built his life with, was a serpent, coiled and ready to strike. The heartbreak was now overshadowed by a fierce, primal instinct for survival. He would not be a victim. He would not let her win. He would unmask the serpent within, and he would make them both pay. The game was no longer about discovery. It was about survival. And Emeka Obi, the billionaire, was ready to fight for his life. The truth is out, but the danger is far from over. What will Chief Emeka do now that he knows his life is on the line? Don't miss the thrilling continuation in Part 2, where the tables turn and the trap is sprung. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss a single moment of this gripping story.